The phone rang at 7:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, just as I was watching the sunset paint my new lakehouse golden. Beverly's voice came through sharp and entitled. "Roger, we need to talk about your situation up there. I'm Roger Hoffman, 65 years old, and I just bought the lake house my late wife Patricia and I had dreamed about for 30 years. After she passed 3 years ago, I finally pulled the trigger on our old dream." "What situation, Beverly?" I asked. "My parents can't stay with us anymore. They're moving into your place next Friday. 3 bedrooms for one person is ridiculous anyway. If you don't like it, sell the house and come back to civilization." I didn't argue, I didn't raise my voice, but when they showed up, they discovered exactly what a retired electrical engineer had prepared for uninvited guests. Let me back up a bit. I worked 40 years for Commonwealth Edison, started as an apprentice lineman, worked my way up to senior engineer. Missed a lot of Tim's baseball games and school plays because I was crawling through substations and power plants. Every missed dinner, every weekend on call, every vacation we postponed, it all went toward this lake house on Lake Vermilion in northern Minnesota. Patricia and I used to drive up here when Tim was little, rent a cabin for a week every summer. She'd sit on the dock with her coffee while I taught Tim to fish. "Someday, Rog," she'd say, "someday we'll have our own place here." Well, someday finally came, just 3 years too late for her to see it. I paid $185,000 cash for the place. 3 bedrooms, stone fireplace, 2 acres of pine forest, and a dock that stretched 50 feet into water, so clear you could count the rocks on the bottom. The real estate agent, Nancy Walsh, said it was one of the nicest properties on the lake. The first month up there was everything Patricia and I had imagined. I'd wake up to loons calling across the water, make coffee, and sit on the dock watching eagles circle overhead. No traffic noise, no neighbors arguing through thin walls, no city stress. Just peace. I spent my days fixing little things around the property. Tightened loose deck boards, cleaned the gutters, organized the tool shed. After 40 years of maintaining power grids, working on my own place felt like therapy. Every nail I drove, every board I replaced, I could hear Patricia saying, "This is perfect, Rog. This is exactly what we wanted." My son Tim drove up the weekend after I closed. He's 38, works as an insurance claims manager in Chicago, makes about $78,000 a year. Good kid, always has been, but he married Beverly Morrison 8 years ago, and that's where things got complicated. "Dad, this is incredible," he said, standing on the dock. "Mom would have loved this. She did love it. We planned every detail of this place during those rental weeks. We spent 2 days fishing and talking about everything except Beverly and her parents. Carl and Linda Morrison had been staying with them for what Beverly claimed was a temporary renovation delay. But I'd noticed the strain in Tim's voice during our phone calls, heard Beverly arguing in the background more than once. The second day while we were cleaning fish, Tim said something that stuck with me. "Dad, how did you and Mom make it work for 35 years? Some days I feel like I'm drowning in other people's problems." I set down my fillet knife and looked at him. "Son, your mother and I had our share of troubles, but we always dealt with our own problems first. We never let other people's emergencies become our crises. What if they're family? Family helping family is one thing. Family being used by family is something else entirely." Tim nodded slowly, but I could see Beverly's influence in the way he second-guessed everything. The kid who used to make decisions quickly and confidently had turned into someone who looked over his shoulder constantly, worried about disappointing people who never seemed satisfied anyway. When Tim left Sunday evening, he hugged me longer than usual. "Thanks, Dad. I needed this." 3 weeks later came that phone call from Beverly. "They'll be there Friday," she said. "My parents need somewhere quiet to recover from the stress of their situation. You have plenty of room." "Beverly, I never agreed to this. This is my home. Family helps family, Roger. Unlike some people, my parents understand sacrifice." That phrase, "family helps family," was Beverly's favorite weapon. She'd used it when they needed $5,000 for Carl's failed restaurant venture. Used it again when they needed $8,000 for Linda's medical bills. Always family helps family, but somehow it only flowed one direction. "What's their situation exactly?" I asked. "The renovation is taking longer than expected. They can't live in a construction zone at their age." I knew Beverly was lying. I could hear it in the way she rushed through the explanation. The way she got defensive when I asked simple questions, but I played along. "How long are we talking about? A few months? Maybe less if you're not difficult about it. And what if I say no?" Her voice turned cold. "Then maybe you need to think about whether you're the kind of person who puts his own comfort above his family's needs. Tim and I have been discussing whether this big empty house is really the best use of your resources." There it was. The threat wrapped in concern. "Give us what we want, or we'll convince your son you're being selfish." After I hung up, I sat on my dock until midnight, listening to the loons call across the water. Patricia used to say the loons were like truth tellers, their voices cutting through all the noise to what really mattered. This wasn't about helping family. This was about taking what I'd earned through 40 years of hard work and handing it over to people who'd never sacrificed anything for anyone. The next morning, I made some calls. First, I called Carol Stevens, a private investigator I'd found online. Her website said she specialized in financial fraud and background investigations. I need a background check on Carl and Linda Morrison, Chicago area, I told her. Any specific concerns, Mr. Hoffman? My gut says my daughter-in-law isn't telling me the truth about their situation. She claims they're displaced by a condo renovation, but something feels off. I can run a basic financial and residential history. Should have preliminary results in 48 hours. Do it. Next, I called Judy Peters, a family law attorney in Duluth that Nancy Walsh had recommended. If people show up at my property claiming family rights and refuse to leave, what are my options? In Minnesota, property ownership is pretty clear-cut, she said. Blood relation doesn't give anyone automatic housing rights. Document everything, every conversation, every demand. Get your refusal in writing. If they show up anyway and won't leave after being asked, that's criminal trespassing. What if they escalate? My daughter-in-law mentioned discussing my resources with my son. The old guilt and pressure campaign, very common in family property disputes. Mr. Hoffman, if this involves potential manipulation of an adult child or threats to your property rights, I'd recommend having legal representation in place before things get heated. I hired her on the spot, $2,500 retainer, money well spent for peace of mind. The hardware store in Grand Rapids had everything I needed. Professional-grade security cameras, motion sensors, weatherproof housing. The kid behind the counter, probably 19 or 20, helped me load everything into my truck. Big property to monitor? He asked. Just want to know who's coming and going, I said. Privacy's gotten scarce these days. Installing the cameras took me most of Wednesday. 3 units covering the driveway approach, front entrance, and dock area, all connected to my phone through an app that would alert me to any motion and save recordings to the cloud. After 40 years of electrical work, running cable, and setting up the system was second nature. Thursday morning, Carol called with preliminary results. Mr. Hoffman, I need to ask, how much do you know about the Morrison family's actual financial situation? Just what my daughter-in-law tells me, which I'm starting to doubt. You should doubt it. Carl Morrison filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy 14 months ago. Lost a restaurant chain called Morrison's Family Dining, 3 locations. Debt totaled $127,000, including $95,000 in judgments that survived the bankruptcy. My stomach dropped. What about their condo? Foreclosed 4 months ago. They haven't had a permanent address since then, but Mr. Hoffman, there's more. I ran preliminary financial records on your son's accounts, the ones tied to his marriage. There are some transactions you might want to see. What kind of transactions? Large transfers to accounts connected to Carl Morrison. We're talking significant amounts over the past 8 months. How significant? I'll have exact figures by tomorrow, but preliminary numbers suggest over $40,000. After I hung up, I walked to the end of my dock and stared out at the lake. $40,000. That was more than half of what Patricia and I had saved for our first house down payment back in 1987. Tim was being bled dry, and he probably didn't even realize it. Friday morning, Carol's full report arrived by email. The numbers were worse than I'd feared. $47,000 in transfers from Tim and Beverly's joint account to various accounts linked to Carl and Linda Morrison. The largest single transfer was $12,000 in March, labeled as emergency medical expenses. Others were smaller but regular. $3,000 here, $5,000 there, always with reasonable sounding explanations. The pattern was clear. Carl and Linda had been living off my son's income for months, probably since they lost their condo. Beverly had been facilitating it, making it seem temporary and necessary, while systematically draining Tim's savings. I printed everything and put it in a folder. Then I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and thought about what was coming. In 6 hours, Carl and Linda Morrison would drive up my driveway expecting to move into my house. They'd probably been told I was a pushover, an old man who could be guilt-tripped into compliance. They were about to learn different. At 2:30 p.m. sharp, my phone buzzed with a motion alert. A silver rental car was coming up the driveway, moving slow like the occupants were getting their first look at the property. I watched on my phone screen as the car stopped in front of the house. Carl Morrison got out first. Mid-60s, soft around the middle, wearing a polo shirt and khakis like he was heading to a country club. Linda followed, a thin woman with gray hair and an expression I recognized immediately, the look of someone evaluating what she thought she deserved. They moved toward the house with the confidence of people who expected to be accommodated. Carl carried a single suitcase. Linda had a purse and what looked like a bag of groceries. They weren't planning to ask permission. They were planning to settle in. I met them on the porch. Roger. Carl extended his hand like we were old friends reuniting. Beautiful place you have here. Beverly said we could stay for a while until our situation gets sorted out. Beverly doesn't own this property. I do, and I didn't invite you here. Linda stepped forward, that evaluation look turning into irritation. Now listen, we drove 6 hours from Chicago. We're family, and this is a family emergency. Tim agreed to this arrangement. Tim doesn't own this property either, and there's no emergency. Your condo was foreclosed 4 months ago because Carl defaulted on debts from his failed restaurant chain. You've been living off my son ever since. The silence that followed was beautiful. Carl's friendly mask slipped completely. Linda's mouth opened and closed without sound. For the first time in months probably, someone had called them on their lies. Carl recovered first, his voice turning hard. How dare you investigate us? We're good people going through a difficult time. We deserve a comfortable place to stay while we get back on our feet. You deserve what you've earned. And according to your bankruptcy filing, that's a $95,000 judgment against you and a foreclosure notice. What you don't deserve is my property or my son's money. We're not asking for charity, Linda snapped. This is family helping family. No, this is parasites helping themselves. You've stolen $47,000 from Tim over the past 8 months. That money was supposed to be his house down payment. Linda grabbed Carl's arm. Let's go? We'll call Beverly. She'll straighten this out. They retreated to their rental car, talking in angry whispers. I watched them drive away, then pulled out my phone to check the camera footage. Every word recorded, every expression captured, every moment of their entitled attitudes crumbling when confronted with truth. 20 minutes later, my phone started ringing, Beverly screaming. Her voice came through the phone so loud I had to hold it away from my ear. How could you humiliate my parents like that? They're devastated. They're sitting in a motel room crying because of what you did. I let her rage for about 2 minutes, recording every word on an app I downloaded for exactly this purpose. When she finally paused for breath, I said, Beverly, your parents lied about their situation. They've been stealing money from Tim's account for months. The party's over. You don't know what you're talking about? You bitter old man. $47,000, Beverly. Transferred from Tim's account to your parents over the past 8 months. Want me to read you the dates and amounts? The silence on her end told me everything. She knew exactly what I was talking about. That money was loans. Temporary help during a family crisis. Funny Tim doesn't know about any loans. And last time I checked, you don't authorize loans from other people's accounts without telling them. You're trying to destroy my family because you can't stand that other people need help. I'm protecting my son from thieves. There's a difference. She hung up on me. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. Tim. His voice was shaky, confused. Dad, what's going on? Beverly says you threw her parents out and accused them of stealing. Son, I need to ask you something, and I need you to check your bank account while we're talking. Have you given money to Beverly's parents this year? Well, yeah. A few times. They've had some medical expenses, and the condo renovation has been expensive. How much, Tim? Silence. Then I heard typing on a keyboard. More silence. Dad, his voice was barely a whisper. There are transfers here I don't remember authorizing $5,000 in March, $8,000 in April. These amounts. Keep looking, son. More typing. The silence stretched so long I thought we'd been disconnected. Then I heard a sound I'd never heard from my grown son, a sob, $47,000. Dad, that was our house money. Beverly and I were supposed to buy a house this year. We've been looking at places, talking to realtors. I know, son. How long have you known about this? I found out this week when I hired an investigator. Something about Beverly's story didn't add up. That conversation just about killed me. Tim told me about months of constant pressure to help her parents. Every time he'd hesitate about sending money, Beverly would start crying, saying he didn't care about her family's suffering. How could he be so selfish when her parents were in crisis? She'd show me medical bills, Dad, invoices for the renovation work. Everything looked legitimate. Were they legitimate? I don't know anymore. God, I don't know anything anymore. Tim's voice broke completely then. Here was my son, a 38-year-old man with a good job and a college degree, realizing he'd been played for a fool by the woman he'd trusted most. What am I supposed to do now, Dad? That's your decision, son, but you need to know the whole truth before you make it. I told him about Carl's bankruptcy, the foreclosure, the pattern of financial manipulation that went back to before they'd even lost their condo. Beverly hadn't been helping her parents through a temporary crisis. She'd been enabling their permanent dependence while hiding the truth from Tim. I need to think, he said finally. I need to figure out what's real and what isn't. Take your time, and Tim, change your banking passwords tonight. All of them. Beverly tried every trick in her playbook over the next 2 weeks. She had her parents call Tim directly, sobbing about how cruel and heartless I was. Linda actually called me crying about how they were living in a terrible motel and couldn't afford to eat. Mrs. Morrison, I said, you've been living off my son for months. Time to find your own solution. She filed a complaint with the county claiming I was mentally unstable and dangerous to myself. A social worker named Sharon Mitchell showed up the following Tuesday to investigate. Someone reported concerns about your welfare, Mr. Hoffman. They claim you're isolated, paranoid, and making irrational decisions about family relationships. I gave Sharon a tour of my perfectly maintained property, showed her my organized files, my clear financial records, my documented evidence of the Morrison family's fraud. We sat on my deck drinking coffee while I explained the situation calmly and rationally. Mr. Hoffman, whoever filed this report either doesn't know you very well or has ulterior motives. You're clearly competent and living independently. I'll close this investigation as unfounded. Beverly's attorney sent a letter threatening to sue me for interference with family relationships and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Judy Peters responded with copies of the financial records and a detailed explanation of how fraud prosecution works in Minnesota. The threats stopped immediately. But the real breaking point came when Tim did his own digging. He called me on a Thursday evening, his voice different, harder, angrier than I'd heard since he was a teenager. Dad, I found more. Beverly's been unemployed for 6 months. What? She got fired from her marketing job back in January. She's been hiding it, withdrawing money from our account, and claiming it was her paychecks. All those deposits I thought were her salary, they were our savings being moved around to look like income. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. How much? Another $18,000 on top of what went to her parents. Dad, we have $3,200 left in our joint account. Everything else is gone, Jesus, Tim. I trusted her completely. When she said her parents needed help, I believed her. When she said the amounts were temporary, I believed that too. When she cried about family loyalty and doing the right thing, I felt guilty for even questioning it. Tim's voice cracked again. How could I be so stupid? You weren't stupid, you were being a husband. There's a difference. What kind of husband doesn't notice his wife stealing from him for months? The kind who trusted her not to steal from him. Tim, this isn't your fault. Beverly is a professional manipulator. She's been playing this game longer than you've known her. I can't stay married to someone who would do this. I can't live with someone I can't trust. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I can't pretend this didn't happen. I can't pretend she didn't destroy our future for her parents' comfort. After we hung up, I sat on my dock until well past midnight, listening to the loons and thinking about trust, family, and the difference between helping and enabling. Tim was about to lose his marriage, but maybe that wasn't such a bad thing. Maybe some marriages aren't worth saving. Tim filed for divorce 3 weeks later. He moved out of their apartment and into an extended stay hotel while his attorney worked out the details. Beverly fought it at first, claiming she was the victim of a conspiracy between Tim and me to destroy her family. But evidence doesn't lie, and we had mountains of it. Bank records, recorded phone calls, documented lies about employment, proof of the foreclosure she'd hidden, everything Carol Stevens and I had uncovered over weeks of investigation. Beverly's attorney took one look at the financial fraud documentation and advised her to settle quickly. When your client has stolen over $65,000 from her husband and lied about employment for 6 months, you don't take that case to court. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. Beverly got the furniture and whatever was left in their joint account, about $800. Tim got his freedom and expensive education in recognizing manipulation. Carl and Linda moved in with Beverly's new boyfriend, some poor guy she met on a dating app who apparently had decent savings. I felt sorry for him, but Tim said not to waste sympathy on someone who wouldn't listen to obvious warning signs. 6 months after the divorce, Tim took a job transfer to Duluth. He said he needed a fresh start somewhere that didn't remind him of Beverly every time he turned a corner. His new apartment had a view of Lake Superior, and he started driving up to my place most weekends. Those Saturday mornings fishing together healed something in both of us. We talked about everything except Beverly and her parents, work, current events, Patricia's memory, the loons that returned every spring. Simple conversations between father and son without manipulation or hidden agendas. That's where he met Susan Phillips. Sue worked as a physical therapist at the rehabilitation center in Duluth. Tim met her when he was helping one of his insurance clients navigate a claim involving long-term care. She was 32, straightforward, hardworking, and came from a family that understood the value of earning what you get. The first time Tim brought her to the lake house, I watched her help clean fish without complaining, laugh when she got her hands dirty, and sit quietly on the dock just enjoying the peace. No demands about the property being wasted on one person. No suggestions about how I could better use my resources, just appreciation for what was already there. "What do you think, Dad?" Tim asked me while Sue was taking a walk along the shoreline. "She's nothing like your ex-wife." "No, she's not." "Then I think you should keep seeing her." Tim and Sue got engaged after a year of dating. They bought a modest house in Duluth together. A real partnership where both people contributed and both people knew where every dollar came from. Tim's financial recovery was complete by then. Turns out he was always good with money when nobody was stealing it. They got married right here at the lakehouse. Small ceremony, maybe 40 people, mostly Sue's family and friends from work. I officiated after getting ordained online just for the occasion. The sun was setting over the water, the loons were calling, and for the first time since Patricia died, the place felt complete. Beverly wasn't invited, obviously. Through mutual acquaintances, we heard she'd married her dating app boyfriend within 8 months of meeting him. Carl and Linda had moved into his house immediately. Poor guy probably thought he was getting a wife and found himself supporting an entire family of professional dependents. That was 18 months ago. Now Tim and Sue come up most weekends, sometimes bringing her parents who appreciate the place without trying to take it over. Sue's father spent 30 years as a mechanic and understands what it means to work for what you have. Last month, Sue told me they're trying for kids. "When we have children," she said, "I want them to know this place. I want them to learn to fish here and understand that some things are worth protecting." I looked out at the water where an eagle was circling, probably hunting the shallows near the reeds. They'll be welcome here anytime. This place was always meant for family, real family. Sue smiled. "Tim told me about everything you went through to protect this. How you stood up to people who tried to guilt you into giving up what you'd worked for. Sometimes you have to say no, even when people call you selfish for it." "Especially then," she said. "This morning I woke up in my 3-bedroom lake house that I earned through 40 years of hard work. I made coffee and sat on my dock watching morning mist rise off water so clear you can see rocks on the bottom 20 feet down. No one was demanding access to my property. No one was stealing from my son. No one was manipulating anyone in my family. Beverly and her parents tried to take it all. They used guilt, lies, fake emergencies, even social services as weapons against me. They assumed I'd cave because most people do when faced with family pressure and accusations of selfishness. They were wrong. Sometimes standing your ground costs you temporary peace. Sometimes protecting what you've earned means being called names by people who never earned anything themselves. Sometimes doing the right thing makes you unpopular with folks who profit from doing the wrong thing. But in the end, what you build through honest work is yours to keep. What you sacrifice for is yours to protect. And what you pass down to worthy people is the real legacy. The loons still call across the water every evening, same as they have for thousands of years. Patricia used to say they were truth tellers, cutting through noise to reach what really mattered. And if you listen close enough, you can hear what they're saying. What's yours is yours, and keeping it doesn't make you the villain in someone else's story. You've probably got people in your own life who think your resources exist for their comfort. Family members who mistake your hard work for their inheritance. Folks who use guilt and obligation to pry open your wallet or your door. Maybe it's time to ask yourself, are you helping them or are they helping themselves to you? If this story hit home, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what time it is where you are right now. Sometimes knowing you're not alone in these situations makes all the difference.